Will Eddie Howe's Magpies be on the Fox hunt this weekend, or will his Magpies become Fox food? Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody, and welcome out to the Newcastle United Digest, the channel delivering you tune content in bite-sized chunks. And this episode will be all about Newcastle's match against Leicester on Saturday. And up on the docket today, I'll be covering some fresh injury woes as well as some potential returns. I'll be giving you my keys to the match on Saturday, as well as my predicted starting 11 and score predictions. So let's just dive right into it, shall we? And the first thing we're going to talk about are injury woes and potential returns to the squad. Obviously, the highest profile injury is going to be the most frustrating one because we've been dealing with this the entire time that he's been at Newcastle, and that's Callum Wilson. He made his very first appearance of the season against West Ham less than a month ago. And now he's picked up yet another injury. This time it's a hamstring after the 4-2 loss against Brentford. As of right now, Callum Wilson has only featured in 1/3, less than a third, of Newcastle's league games this season, and he's set to be out for yet another 2 months. I talked about his injury in the 2025 contract video, where he's only been playing for about a third of the time he's been at Newcastle. 1/3 of all league games he's played in the black and white. The rest of the time he's been injured. I said in that video that Callum Wilson needed to be fit for the rest of this season to at least have a chance to have the discussion about getting a contract extension. And in my opinion, any chances that he had of that happening just went out the door. Just with the setbacks that he had at the beginning of the season and this new setback, he's going to be missing at least 5 months of this season. We only have one fit, proper senior striker in the team right now. There's no way that we can rely on him to be healthy and fit for the rest of the season, let alone another season. At this point, I think that it's time to cut ties and move on. And the one injury that is a surprise is goalkeeper Nick Pope. Craig Hope reported that the always reliable, if not sometimes mad, Newcastle goalkeeper has a knee problem and he could be sidelined for this game and could be out for several weeks. If this is true, expect Martin Dubravka to put on the gloves and command the Newcastle penalty area for the near future. One potential return is going to be Joe Willock. Little Joe was a big miss against Brentford last weekend, and he could see a return to the side this weekend against the Foxes. Last weekend, he missed with a minor hamstring injury, so I would expect him to come on as a sub at some point in this game. Now, this is not somebody that will be returning for this weekend's match against Leicester, but it's nice to note that Sven Botman has been progressing with his injury very well. In fact, pictures of him training with the team have been released by the club on their social media on Thursday, and it's a welcome sight to see him at least in training for Newcastle players and fans alike. It's possible that his first competitive match could happen as soon as next week when he plays with the U21 side on Tuesday. Now, before I go into my actual keys to the game, it should be worth noting that both these teams are pretty much on the struggle bus right now. Leicester has a win in their last 5. Newcastle has a win in their last 5. The only difference is that of those remaining 4 games, Newcastle has 2 draws and Leicester has 1 draw. In those last 5 games, Leicester has only scored 7 goals in 5 games and they've conceded 12, where Newcastle has scored 9 but also given up 11. So just by going on the last 5 matches for both of these games, there's a very good chance that this is going to be a very entertaining one for the neutrals. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping this is a very decisive win for Newcastle, but given how we've been playing against teams that are close to us on the table or below us in the table, all bets are off. But I want to give you some things to look out for this game, because I really do think that we can beat Leicester, even though they are on the new manager bounce right now. And regardless of the manager, the very first thing we have to talk about is busting up the Vardy party. No matter who the manager is in charge, Jamie Vardy is one of the Premier League's most dangerous strikers of the last 10 years. He doesn't have the pace that he once had, but his intelligent movement and his uncanny ability to perfectly time runs behind defenses make him a nuisance for defenders and VAR officials alike. He's also mastered the dark arts of football at an absolute legendary level. So our defenders have to be on their best behavior, and that should be a top priority for this match. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is turning left at the corner. And what I mean by this is Yannick Vestergaard could be a potential liability in this back four. Mikel Antonio made Vestergaard look like a traffic cone. Once beaten, Vestergaard got desperate and could have drawn a penalty if he could actually catch Antonio or bring him down, because have you seen him? By the way, Mikel Antonio, get well soon. So sorry about your car crash. And if there's any West Ham fans that are watching this for whatever reason, my condolences for all of you. Please, Mikel, get well soon. Going back to our game, I really do think that this could be an opportunity for our wingers to attack, looking for passes inside the penalty area or drawing a penalty kick. One of the things I could see happening is Jacob Murphy turning that corner. I could see Anthony Gordon moving to the right and turning that corner and drawing a penalty, especially in the late stages of a game when Vestergaard starts to get a little tired. And going on the theme of attacking their defense, create defensive chaos. Granted, Ruud van Nistelrooy has only been in charge for 3 games, and Leicester is still riding that new manager bounce that everybody talks about. But that doesn't mean the cracks in Leicester's defense have been plastered over. In the final 5 games under previous manager Steve Cooper, Leicester conceded 11 goals, a further 4 against Brentford under the caretaker coach, and then since Ruud van Nistelrooy has taken over, Leicester have still conceded 3 goals in 2 games. There are plenty of opportunities to create chaos and confusion with a defensive unit who are still trying to learn a new defensive scheme and during the middle of a season. 3 weeks worth of training is not enough time to have a full grasp and know your teammates' tendencies in a brand new system, so there will be lapses in communication. These lapses can come during the normal run of play, they can come on set pieces, and they could especially come under pressure of any kind. That means fully committing to the press, creating that pressure, and really having a field day. And the last thing is, don't get complacent. The Leicester squad has plenty of weapons to catch a team napping, and we have been guilty of that this season. In fact, their resilience was on display when they went down 2-0 against Brighton, came back and salvaged a point against them, who was knocked out of European places because of that draw. So, yes, they are fighting relegation, but they are a fighting team, and they're not going to give up very easily. And now let's move on to my starting 11 and score predictions for this game. I know the things are going to look slightly different, but also kind of the same. And my predicted goalkeeper is going to be Martin Dubravka. Assuming that Pope has that knee injury, I think that the Slovakian veteran is going to shine in his opportunity. He wants to showcase his skills to potential suitors before the transfer window opens in January, and this is going to be a golden opportunity for him to do that. Now in defense, I think we're going to go unchanged from last week. You'll see Tina on the right, Sharon Byrne in the middle, and Lewis Hall returning to the left-hand side. I know that Hall had a really rough week at the office last week, with all 3 goals in the Liverpool game really flowing through him, and he also having something to say about a couple of the goals against Brentford. It's nice to give him a week's worth of rest to recover both physically and mentally, come back at this game fresh and ready to defend well against Leicester. And I think that we're going to see the midfield that every Newcastle fan wants to see right now. You'll see Bruno and Joelinton. You'll see Bruno and Joelinton on the outside of midfield with Tonali playing the 6 in the middle. And I think it's going to be an opportunity for Tonali as we start making some subs, maybe sub off Joelinton early on in the second half, let Tonali move forward, especially if we're chasing the game or we're trying to break a draw. If we're trying to break a deadlock. Expect Tonali to hang back in that 6th position with Bruno and Big Joe changing forward. Charging. Let's try this again. And in midfield, we're going to see the trio that every Newcastle fan wants to see, and that's Bruno and Joelinton pressing forward and Tonali playing the 6. As subs get rotated in, I expect Tonali to transition more to an attacking role, especially if we're chasing the game. Maybe see Longstaff come in and play that 6, bring up Joelinton, And let Tonali and Bruno play forward. Let them do what they love to do. And at forwards, you're going to see Murphy return to the right-hand side with Isak and Gordon in their normal center forward and left wing positions. I don't think this is going to change. I thought Murphy did well. He had 2 assists last week despite getting pulled off early. I think his direct approach and his wonderful crossing are going to be assets against Leicester. So let's see what he can do and hopefully turn around that new manager bounce and let it go flat. For my score prediction, I think this is going to be a game for the neutrals to enjoy and supporters of both teams to sweat. Neither team has been very strong defensively, to put it very nicely, and both teams have had plenty of options in the attacking department to be dangerous to their opposition, but they haven't capitalized on their chances. Like I mentioned before, Leicester's only scored 7 goals in the last 5. Newcastle's only scored 9, and both teams have conceded double digits. If Newcastle can score early and prevent Leicester from parking the bus at St. James's Park, it will create a more wide-open, entertaining game of football for all of us to enjoy. If they let Leicester bunker down, it's going to be a very, very rough day for the Newcastle supporters and the players alike. Because we all know that Newcastle has struggled with breaking teams down when they park 10 men behind the ball. And we can prevent that by scoring early, putting pressure on them early. Attack, attack, attack. And don't let them get confident with 10 men behind the ball. My prediction, I think this is going to be a 3-2 win. The new manager bounce has to end at some point, and I think this will be a game that ends it. Managers who have played for or worked with and adore the late, great Sir Bobby Robson, notably Jose Mourinho and Pep Guardiola, have struggled at Mr. Robson's house. I think Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to be another one of those managers that will take the L in front of Sir Bobby's statue and head back to Leicester with 0 points. And that will do it for this episode of the Newcastle United Digest. If you've made it this far, be sure to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber yet, and be on the lookout for more videos coming next week. So until then, this is Adam Snyder saying, "Ahoy the lads." Bye for now.